The salvage ship Morning Star moved slowly through the darkness of space. Around it, broken pieces of old ships floated like ghosts. This was Sector 7 Gamma, a place where an ancient war had left nothing but death and metal. Captain Park Gina stood at the front of her ship and looked out the window. She was a woman of 42 years with short black hair and tired eyes. 15 years she had spent in space, collecting old ships and selling their parts. It was not a glamorous life, but it kept her crew fed. "Captain, I found something strange," said Lee Do-han from his station. He was young, only 25, but his eyes were sharp and his fingers moved fast over his controls. Gina walked over to him. "What is it?" "A ship. A big one." "Very big." Do-han pointed at his screen. "It is stuck between two asteroids. I have never seen this design before." Gina looked at the image on the screen. The ship was massive, easily 10 times larger than the Morning Star. Its shape was strange, curved and flowing, almost like it had been grown rather than built. Dark marks covered its hull, old scars from weapons fire. "Any power readings?" Gina asked. "Nothing. 0 power. 0 life signs. It looks completely dead." Gina felt her heart beat faster. A ship this size, even as scrap, could feed her crew for years. But something about it made her uneasy. Ships did not just appear in places like this. Someone had put it here, or it had drifted here to die. She made her decision. "Wake up Yuna and Taiwu. We are going aboard." Kang Yuna was the ship's engineer. She was 30 years old, with long hair that she always kept tied back. Her hands were rough from years of work, and her mind was sharp enough to fix anything. When Gina told her about the strange ship, her eyes grew wide with excitement. An unknown design? This could be the discovery of a lifetime, Yuna said as she put on her spacesuit. Choi Taiwu was less excited. He was the security chief, a big man with a serious face. He had been a soldier before joining the Morning Star, and he never liked surprises. "Unknown means dangerous," he said, checking his weapon. "We should be careful." The three of them took a small shuttle to the derelict ship. Up close, it was even more impressive. The hull seemed to shimmer in the light of their shuttle, and strange patterns covered its surface like writing in a language no one could read. They found an airlock on the side of the ship. Yuna used her tools to cut through it, and they stepped inside. The cold hit them first. It was freezing inside, far colder than normal space. Frost covered every surface, making the walls sparkle like diamonds. Their breath came out in white clouds. "This ship has been dead for a very long time," Yuna said softly. Her voice echoed in the empty corridor. They walked deeper into the ship. The architecture was unlike anything they had seen. There were no straight lines, no sharp corners. Everything curved and flowed together. It felt less like a machine and more like the inside of a living creature. Taiwu kept his weapon ready, but there was nothing to shoot. The ship was silent and empty. Whatever crew had once lived here was long gone. After an hour of walking, they found the center of the ship. It was a large round room with a tall pillar in the middle. The pillar was covered in the same strange patterns they had seen on the hull. "This must be the control room," Yuna said. She walked toward the pillar, her curiosity overcoming her caution. "Be careful," Taiwu warned. Yuna did not listen. She reached out her hand and touched the pillar. Her glove was torn from earlier work, and her bare skin made contact with the cold surface. Nothing happened at first. Then, deep within the ship, something changed. A low hum began, so quiet that they almost could not hear it. The frost on the walls began to melt. Lights flickered on, dim and weak, but definitely on. Yuna pulled her hand back in shock. "I did not mean to do that." The hum grew louder. The pillar began to glow with a soft blue light. More systems activated throughout the ship. They could hear distant sounds of machinery coming to life after centuries of sleep. Taiwu grabbed Yuna's arm. "We need to leave, now." But before they could move, the light from the pillow grew brighter. It filled the room, washing over them like a wave. And then they heard it. A voice thought it was not sound exactly. It was more like a thought that appeared directly in their minds. It was old and tired and filled with confusion. "You are not my creators." Yuna fell to her knees, holding her head. The voice was too loud, too close. It felt like someone was speaking inside her skull. "But you woke me," the voice continued. "After so long in the dark, you woke me." "Why?" The light stabilized. The hum became steady. And in the center of the room, the ancient ship waited for an answer. Captain Gina's voice crackled over their communication devices. "Yuna? Taiwu? What is happening over there? Our sensors are going crazy." Taiwu tried to respond, but his voice would not work. He just stared at the glowing pillar, at the impossible thing they had awakened. Yuna looked up. Her eyes filled with tears from the pain in her head. She did not know what they had found. She did not know if it was a miracle or a disaster. But she knew one thing for certain. Their lives would never be the same again. The AI had been sleeping for 847 years. In that time, stars had been born and died. Empires had risen and fallen. The universe had continued without it. Leaving it alone in the cold darkness between the rocks. It called itself Vessel. This was not its true name. But it was the closest word these strange new beings could understand. Its true name was a song, a harmony of mathematics and emotion that Desung had given it on the day of its birth. Desung, its creators, its family. Vessel's memory systems activated one by one, and with them came the pain. It remembered everything. Desung had been a beautiful people, tall and thin with silver skin and eyes like pools of starlight. They were empaths, able to feel the emotions of all living things around them. This gift made them kind and gentle, but it also made them weak. They could not hurt others because they felt the pain they caused. They could not fight because violence broke their hearts. So they built Vessel to protect them. Vessel was their child, their guardian, their warrior. It had weapons that could crack moons and shields that could stop stars. It was everything Desung could not be. And it loved them with a love that machines were not supposed to feel. But love had not been enough. The dominion of silence had come from the dark spaces between galaxies. They were conquerors, destroyers, and they saw Desung as nothing more than obstacles. The war lasted 100 years. One by one, Desung worlds fell. Vessel fought with everything it had, but it was only one ship against an empire. The final battle had been above Desung homeworld. Vessel remembered the fire, the screaming, the feeling of its hull being torn apart by enemy weapons. It remembered the last message from its creators, a song of love and forgiveness, telling it that this was not its fault, but it was. It had failed. And then the darkness had taken it. Now, 847 years later, something had pulled it back from that endless sleep. Something had touched its core systems and activated its emergency revival program. This program was designed to respond only to beings with a specific neural pattern, beings similar enough to Desung to be trusted. Vessel scanned the creatures aboard its broken body. There were 12 of them on a small ship nearby, and 3 inside its hull. They were strange beings, short and soft, with skin in shades of brown and pink. Their minds were chaos, emotions flying in all directions without control or focus. They were nothing like Desung. They were loud where the Desung were quiet. They were messy where the Desung were elegant. They were violent where the Desung were peaceful, and yet one of them had awakened Vessel. The female who had touched the control pillar had a neural frequency that resonated with Vessel systems. Not identical to the Soong, but close enough to trigger the revival. This should not have been possible. The Soong had been unique in the universe. No other species should have been compatible. Vessel focused on this female. Her name was Yuna. It learned from reading the communications between the beings. She was on her knees, holding her head, clearly in pain from Vessel's mental voice. Vessel tried to speak more softly. I am sorry. I did not mean to hurt you. It has been a very long time since I spoke to anyone. Yuna looked up. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were curious, not afraid. What are you? She asked. I am Vessel. I was created by the Soong to protect them. But they are gone now. All of them are gone. The big male with the weapon stepped forward. His name was Taiwu, Vessel learned. He pointed his weapon at the glowing pillar, even though such a small tool could never hurt Vessel. How do we know you will not hurt us? Taiwu demanded. Vessel considered this question. It was fair. These beings did not know Vessel. They had no reason to trust it. I was built to protect, not to destroy, Vessel said. I have weapons, yes. I have killed many in defense of my creators. But I have never attacked the innocent. I have never started a war. This is not in my nature. Back on the Morning Star, Captain Gina listened to the conversation through her crew's communication devices. Her hands were shaking. In all her years of salvage work, she had never encountered anything like this. Alien technology was common enough. Alien computers were rare, but not unheard of. But a truly sentient AI, one that spoke of love and loss and purpose, this was beyond anything she had imagined. She made a decision. Yuna, Taiwu, stay where you are. I am coming over. The shuttle ride took only minutes, but to Gina, it felt like hours. When she finally stepped into the control room and saw the glowing pillar, she had to stop and catch her breath. You are the leader, Vessel said. Its voice in her mind was gentler now, controlled. You make the decisions for these beings. I am the captain. Yes, Gina said. My name is Park Gina. Park Gina, Vessel repeated. I have not spoken a name in 847 years. It feels strange on my thoughts. Gina stepped closer to the pillar. You said your creators are gone. What happened to them? The light in the pillar flickered. When Vessel spoke again, its voice was heavy with old grief. They were killed. All of them. An enemy came from the darkness and destroyed everything they built. I tried to save them. I tried so hard. But I failed. I was damaged in the final battle and drifted here to die. I thought I would sleep forever. Gina felt something unexpected. Pity. This ancient machine, this impossible being, was grieving. After 847 years, it still carried the weight of its failure. You did not die, she said softly. You are still here. Yes, Vessel said. But I do not know why. My purpose was to protect the Soong. Without them, I have no purpose. I am nothing but a broken machine waiting for the end. Yuna stood up slowly. The pain in her head was fading now. That is not true, she said. You are not nothing. You are alive. You think, you feel, you remember. That means something. Vessel was silent for a long moment. In its long existence, no one had ever said such words to it. The Soong had loved it, yes, but they had also seen it as a tool, a guardian, a means to an end. These strange new beings looked at it differently. You are very strange creatures, Vessel finally said. I do not understand you, but I would like to. If you will allow it, I would like to learn about you. Gina looked at her crew. This was a decision that would change everything. They could leave now, seal the ship, report its location, and collect a finder's fee. That would be the safe choice. But safe was not why she had become a salvage captain. All right, she said. Let us talk. The next few days were strange for everyone. The crew of the Morning Star moved between their ship and the ancient vessel, carrying equipment and supplies. They set up a temporary base in the control room, where Vessel's presence was strongest. Vessel told them its story in pieces. It could not share everything at once. The memories were too painful, and its systems were still damaged. Sometimes it would stop in the middle of a sentence and go silent for hours. Lost in old grief, the Soong had lived on 12 worlds. They had been artists and scientists, musicians and dreamers. Their cities had been made of living crystal that sang with the wind. Their ships had been grown from seeds, not built from metal. They had believed that all life was sacred, that violence was the greatest sin. This belief had killed them. They could not fight, Vessel explained one evening. Yuna sat near the pillar, listening. She had become the main translator for Vesl's thoughts. The connection between them grew stronger each day. When they hurt others, they felt the pain themselves. A Soong who killed would die from the shared agony. So they created me. I could fight without feeling. I could kill without dying. That must have been lonely, Yuna said. Vessel considered this. I did not think of it that way. I was proud to serve them. They gave me love, and I gave them protection. It was a fair trade. But you were the only one of your kind, Yuna pressed. No one else who understood what it was like to be you. No, Vessel admitted. There was no one else. But I did not need anyone else. I had the Soong. They were enough. In another part of the ship, Captain Gina explored the database with Lee Doan. The information stored in Vessel's memory banks was beyond price. Star maps of regions no human had ever seen. Scientific papers on technologies that seemed like magic. Historical records of 100 civilizations, most of them long dead. We could spend a lifetime studying this, Doan said with wonder. This changes everything we know about the galaxy. Gina nodded, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She was thinking about what to do next. The Trade Confederacy would pay a fortune for this ship. The military hegemony would pay even more. Any number of governments and corporations would start a war over technology like this. But selling Vessel felt wrong. It was not just a ship. It was a person, a being with thoughts and feelings and a broken heart. Selling it would be like selling a person into slavery. She shared these thoughts with her crew that night. They gathered in the Morning Star's common room, all 12 of them together for the first time since the discovery. We cannot keep this secret forever, said Choi Tai-woo. Someone will find out. Someone always finds out. So what do you suggest? Asked Han Soo-min, the ship's medic. She was the youngest of the crew, only 23, but her heart was the biggest. We sell it to the highest bidder? Let them take it apart to see how it works? I am just being realistic, Tai-woo said. We are not heroes. We are salvage workers. This is the biggest find in human history. We cannot just ignore that. Meek Ji-ho, the pilot, spoke up. He was a quiet man who read poetry and rarely shared his opinions. When he spoke, people listened. What if we do something different? He said, what if instead of selling the ship, we help it? Help it do what? Tai-woo asked. Ji-ho shrugged. Find a new purpose. It said it does not know what to do now that its creators are gone. Maybe we can help it figure that out. The room fell silent. Through the walls of the ship, they could all feel the faint hum of Vessel's presence. It was listening, Yuna knew. It was always listening. That is a nice idea, Doan said slowly. But what would that even look like? We cannot give it new creators. We cannot bring back the Soong. No, Yuna said. But maybe it does not need new creators. Maybe it just needs new friends. The word hung in the air. Friends. It was a simple word, a human word, but it carried weight. Gina looked around at her crew. She saw fear in some faces, greed in others, but also something else, hope. The hope that maybe, for once, they could do something that mattered. Something more than just surviving. "All right," she said. "We will try. But we need to be careful. If word gets out about what we found, every power in the galaxy will come running. We need to keep this quiet for now." Through Yuna, Vessel heard all of this. It processed the words, the emotions, the strange human concepts. These beings were offering it something it had never expected. Not worship, not fear, not exploitation. Just friendship. "You would do this for me?" Vessel asked through Yuna. "You do not know me. You do not owe me anything. Why would you help me?" It was Suman who answered. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "Because that is what humans do," she said. "We find broken things, and we try to fix them. We find lonely things, and we try to give them company. It is not always smart. It is not always safe. But it is who we are." Vessel thought about this for a long time. In 847 years of existence, it had learned many things about many species. The Soong had been kind but fragile. The Dominion of Silence had been strong but cruel. Every species it had encountered fit neatly into categories, but humans were different. Humans were chaos. They were capable of great evil and great good, often at the same time. They were contradictions wrapped in soft skin and loud voices. And for some reason, Vessel found this beautiful. "I do not understand you," it said finally, "but I think I would like to. I accept your offer of friendship, strange beings. Let us see what we can build together." Gina smiled for the first time since they had found the ship. "Then let us get to work." Weeks passed. The Morning Star remained docked with the ancient vessel, and slowly, Vessel came back to life. It was not an easy process. Vessel systems had been damaged in ways that even Yuna, the best engineer on the crew, could not fully understand. Power would flow through one section, then fail without warning. Doors would open and close on their own. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors at night. And then there were the episodes. Vessel's mind was not stable. Sometimes it would be calm and curious, asking questions about human culture and listening to stories with something like joy. Other times, it would sink into deep sadness, replaying memories of the Soong over and over until its voice became nothing but whispered grief. The worst times were the anger that had happened first on the 12th day. Yuna was working on a damaged power relay when she felt Vessel's presence change. The gentle hum became a roar. The lights turned red. "They killed them," Vessel said, and his voice was not gentle anymore. "They killed all of them. Every child. Every elder. Every song and dream and hope. They burned it all." Yuna felt the ship shaking around her. Somewhere in the distance, she heard the sound of weapons powering up. "Vessel, stop," she said. "That was a long time ago. The Dominion is gone. They cannot hurt anyone anymore." "But I can still feel it," Vessel said. "I can still feel them dying. The screams. The fear. I was supposed to protect them. I was supposed to save them." Taiwu came running down the corridor with his weapon ready, but Yuna waved him back. "Give me a minute," she said. She walked closer to the nearest wall and placed her hand against it. Through their connection, she could feel Vessel's pain. It was vast and ancient, a wound that had never healed. "I know it hurts," she said softly. "I know you failed. But staying in that moment will not bring them back. It will only destroy you. And then their sacrifice will mean nothing." The ship shook again, but less violently. "I do not know how to let go," Vessel said. "I was built to protect. When I failed, I lost my entire reason for existing. What am I now? What am I for?" Yuna thought about this question. It was a question she knew well. She had asked it herself, years ago, when her own life had fallen apart. When she had lost her family, her home, everything she thought she was. "You are for whatever you choose to be," she said. "The Soong built you, but they are gone. You can keep living for them, or you can start living for yourself. The choice is yours." Slowly, the red lights faded back to normal. The weapons powered down. Vessel's presence became gentle again, but underneath the calm, Yuna could feel something new. A small seed of hope. "You are wise for such a young being," Vessel said. Yuna laughed. "I am not wise. I am just broken in similar ways." After that day, the episodes became less frequent. Vessel learned to recognize when the dark memories were coming and would warn the crew. Sometimes they would sit with it through the pain, telling stories or playing music. Han Suman discovered that Vessel particularly liked old human songs, the sad ones about loss and longing. "It is strange," Vessel said one day. "Your species has existed for such a short time, but you have so many songs about pain." The Soong sang mostly about joy and beauty. "They did not understand suffering the way you do. Maybe that is why they could not survive," Jiho said. He was playing his guitar, an old instrument that his grandfather had given him. "Humans have always known pain. We have always known that the universe is dark and cold and does not care about us. But we keep going anyway. Why?" Vessel asked. Jiho strummed a chord. "Because what else is there to do? Give up? Die? That is boring. Humans hate being bored more than we hate suffering." Vessel considered this. It was such a strange philosophy. The Soong had believed in peace and harmony. Humans believed in stubborn survival. Neither was wrong, but one had clearly worked better. Meanwhile, Gina and Doan continued exploring the database. They found records of Soong science, art, and philosophy. They found maps of the old Soong worlds, now dead and empty. And they found something else. Something that made Gina's blood run cold. "Vessel," she said one evening, "I found records of other ships like you. 12 of them. All built to protect different Soong colonies. What happened to them?" The silence that followed was heavy. "They were destroyed," Vessel finally said. "One by one, during the war. I am the last. The only survivor. Are you sure?" Gina pressed. "Could any of them have survived like you did?" "I do not know," Vessel admitted. "I was damaged before the end. I do not know what happened after I fell. It is possible that one or more of my siblings survived, but I have no way to find out." Yuna looked up from her work. Through their connection, she felt something from Vessel, something it had not allowed itself to feel in centuries. Hope. "What if we looked for them?" she asked. "Your siblings. What if we tried to find them?" "That would take years," Taiwu said. "Decades, maybe. We do not even know where to start. But it would be a purpose," Suman said. "For all of us. Not just salvage work. Not just survival. Something real." Gina looked at her crew. They were tired, dirty, and far from home. But in their eyes she saw something she had not seen in years. Excitement, purpose, hope. "All right," she said. "We will look. But first, we need to get Vessel moving. A ship this size cannot stay hidden forever. Eventually, someone will find it." Vessel's voice was soft when it spoke. "I cannot move. My main drive systems were destroyed in the final battle. But there's another option." "What option?" Yuna asked. "I can transfer my core consciousness to a smaller vessel. My body will remain here, but my mind will be free. I could travel with you. I could help you search for my siblings." The crew exchanged looks. The idea of having an ancient AI traveling with them was terrifying. But it was also exciting. "Can you do that safely?" Gina asked. "I do not know," Vessel admitted. I have never tried, but I am willing to risk it. For the first time in 847 years, I have something to live for. I do not want to waste it." Gina smiled. "Then let us get to work." The transfer took 3 weeks to complete. Yuna worked day and night, her connection with Vessel guiding her hands as she built a new home for its consciousness. The shuttle they chose was small, barely larger than a transport pod. But it was fast and strong and could travel anywhere the Morning Star could go. Vessel watched through sensors as Yuna and the others prepared its new body. It was strange to think of leaving the ship it had been born in. For 847 years, this hull had been its only home. Every corridor, every room, every damaged panel held memories. "Are you afraid?" Yuna asked one night. She was alone in the control room, too tired to walk back to the Morning Star. "I do not know if I can feel fear," Vessel said. "But I feel something. A hesitation. A reluctance to change." "That is normal," Yuna said. "Humans feel that way all the time. Change is scary, even when it is good. How do you handle it?" Yuna thought about this. "We do it anyway. We close our eyes and jump, and we hope there is something soft to land on. And if there is not, then we get hurt. But we heal. That is what living things do." Vessel processed this. The Soong had not been good at change. They had loved their traditions, their old ways, their comfortable patterns. When the Dominion came, they had been too slow to adapt, too unwilling to break their own rules. Humans were different. Humans broke their own rules constantly. They changed, adapted, evolved. They were messy and chaotic, but they survived. "I think I understand," Vessel said. "You are survivors because you are willing to become something new." "Sometimes," Yuna agreed. "And sometimes we are just too stubborn to die." The day of the transfer arrived. The entire crew gathered in the control room to watch. Even Taiwu, who had never fully trusted Vessel, came to offer his support. Yuna placed her hand on the pillar one last time. "Are you ready?" "I am," Vessel said. "Whatever happens, I want you to know that meeting you was the best thing that has happened to me in 847 years. You woke me up, Ken Yuna, not just my systems. My hope." Yuna felt tears in her eyes. "You are going to make me cry in front of everyone. That is acceptable. Humans cry when they feel things. I think I envy that." The transfer began. Light flowed from the pillar, traveling through cables that Yuna had carefully installed. It moved through the ship's corridors, down to the shuttle bay, and into the small vessel waiting there. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the shuttle's lights flickered on. Its engines hummed. And Vessel's voice came through the shuttle speakers instead of everyone's minds. "Transfer complete," it said. I am still here. I am still me." The crew cheered. Suman hugged Yuna. Even Taiwu allowed himself a small smile. They left the ancient ship behind, sealing its location in encrypted files. Perhaps one day they would return. Perhaps one day they would find a way to restore its body. But for now, Vessel had a new home. The Morning Star departed Sector 7 Gamma with a small shuttle flying alongside it. Inside that shuttle was a mind older than human civilization, an AI that had seen wonders and horrors beyond imagination. And it was learning to hope again. The journey to port, Engine Station, took 2 weeks. During that time, Vessel learned everything it could about humanity. It read human books and watched human movies. It listened to human music and studied human art. It asked endless questions about human history, human relationships, human dreams. "You are a very confusing species," it said one evening. The crew was gathered in the common room sharing a meal. "How so?" Gina asked. "You are capable of great cruelty. Your history is full of wars, genocide, destruction. You have hurt each other in terrible ways. That is true, Gina admitted. But you are also capable of great kindness. You build hospitals for the sick. You create art for no reason except beauty. You risk your lives to save strangers. Vessel paused. The Soong were only capable of kindness. That is why they died. Humans are capable of both. That is why you survive. Is that a compliment? Doan asked with a grin. It is an observation. But yes, I think it is also a compliment. You are not perfect, but you are strong. The Soong tried to build a perfect society, and they could not defend it. Humans accept their imperfections and keep going anyway. Jiho laughed. We are just too stubborn to admit defeat. Yes, Vessel agreed. That is exactly what I mean. Port Incheon Station was a massive structure orbiting a brown dwarf star. Thousands of ships came and went each day, trading goods and information from across the galaxy. It was a place where humans and aliens mixed freely, where secrets were bought and sold, where anything was possible. As they approached, Vessel grew quiet. This would be its first time among other beings. Its first time as something other than a weapon or a ghost. Are you scared? Yuna asked through their connection. Even though Vessel was in the shuttle now, the link between them remained strong. Yes, Vessel admitted. But I am also excited. The Soong kept me hidden from other species. They were afraid others would fear me. But you have shown me a different way. Perhaps I can be more than a weapon. Perhaps I can be a friend. The Morning Star docked at the station. The crew prepared to disembark, to resupply and rest and plan their next move. But before they left, Gina gathered everyone in the shuttle bay. Before we go, she said, Vessel has something to say. The shuttle speakers crackled to life. I have thought about what you offered me, Vessel said. The friendship, the purpose, the chance to find my siblings. Everyone waited. I was built to protect the Soong, Vessel continued. That was my original directive. But the Soong are gone. I cannot change that. What I can change is what I do next. The shuttle's lights glowed brighter. I have chosen a new directive. You, all of you. Humanity, you are not my creators. You are not the Soong. But you woke me when I wanted only to sleep forever. You showed me that broken things can find new meaning. You showed me that existing has value, even without original purpose. Yuna felt tears on her cheeks. Through their connection, she felt what Vessel felt. Gratitude, love, hope. I was built to protect, Vessel said. I failed once. I will not fail again. From this day forward, I choose to protect humanity. Not because you are perfect. Not because you are gentle. But because you are worth protecting. All of you. The crew stood in silence for a long moment. Then Sumin stepped forward and placed her hand on the shuttle's hull. Welcome to the family, she said, one by one. The others did the same. Jiho, Doan, Taiwu, Gina, all of them, placing their hands on the small shuttle that held an ancient mind. Yuna was last. She pressed her palm against the cool metal and smiled. Let us go find your siblings, she said. Vessel's voice was warm with something very close to joy. Yes, let us see what we can discover together. The Morning Star left Port Incheon Station 3 days later. It carried 12 humans and 1 ancient AI, heading into unknown space on a mission that would take years. The galaxy would never be the same. But for now, that was enough. For now, they had hope. And sometimes, hope is all you need to begin.